Hello, everyone. This is Mindy Flanagan coming to you with another episode of Uncomplicating HR via an entity I am quite proud to be the founder of, Inspiring HR. Today, I am joined by my fabulous colleague, partner in crime, I guess we'll call her, since she was recently promoted to admin manager and did a wonderful job taking some stuff off my plate. Sonia Chapin, who I'm going to let introduce herself in a moment, but everyone should be so lucky as to hire someone like this who has an insatiable love of learning, and is also quick to raise her hand and say, I'll get that off your plate, which is why I love working with her, because it's not easy to be a small business owner wearing multiple hats. So without further ado, I introduce you to Sonia Chapin. Say hello.
Hi, everyone. So excited to be here for my very first episode of this. I've been with Inspiring HR for 4 years now in an HR consulting role. And prior to that, I have about 25 years of HR experience. Most of those were spent in a consulting capacity with a focus on federal contractors and compliance. So that's kind of where I've come from. I really enjoy working with small business owners because I do know the challenges of wearing multiple hats. It is also very motivating for me to be able to work on a lot of different things. And so that's why I think I'm particularly well suited not only to work in a small business, but also to support small businesses.
Yeah, we are a small business and we support small businesses, so we walk the talk to the best of our ability. I know, and I think you'll agree, sometimes we have the luxury of learning something, like maybe about group health that we're going to talk about in a minute, and being able to take our own learns of our internal operations, pair that with our HR expertise, and then be able to honor one of our most important core values with our clients, which is we relate, because we're living through this thing right now. So the first thing that comes to mind, so we have our marching orders from the marketing team. So, because they have these certain things we want us talking about, but I'm happy to do it because they know our lane of services so well, and then I get a chance to collaborate on camera with a coworker. So you raised your hand on a couple of topics, and one of them was for anyone out there dabbling with the, hey, I don't know what I don't know when it comes to contractor 1099 versus employee, or I'm in a state that actually has stricter rules than even the federal government does on this, like Virginia now. What can we share with people who are trying to sort out contractor versus employee, just based on our own experience and what we know, but also what you might be experiencing with some of your clients?
Sure. So one of the things that I have always told clients so first off, I should say that I totally understand the attraction and the pull of a 1099. It's a cheaper way, at least initially, of getting work done within an organization. I understand that, but there are multiple considerations, not just from a state law perspective, but also from an IRS perspective. So that's the federal part. That's the federal part. Mm-hmm. So there are a number of different considerations that one should consider as they're making the 1099 versus W-2 calculation. So a lot of times knowing that there are multiple things that are available from the federal side, right, that we could go through, and there's, a 3-page questionnaire about, is this person a W-2 or 1099? I like to simplify that and to kind of say, there are a couple of quick tests questions that I could ask, right? The first one is this a core service of the organization? So if you think about why the company was founded, is this person supporting what this company is trying to do? And if the answer to that is yes, then it's probably pointing more to a W-2 than a 1099. A good example of that, one of my coworkers actually said this to me very early on in my tenure here. She told me that you could 1099 someone to install a phone system, but the person answering the phones would be a W-2. Right?
That's actually a really good parallel. Yep.
Yeah. So if it's if it's time bound, if the person if they have another client where they're installing a phone system for another client, then that points to a 1099. But if that person is providing services that your company sort of relies on as part of their core business, more of a W-2. So that's definitely one of the very first questions that I can ask. Another question includes if the person is actually where they're performing the work, right? Like, are they on premise? Are there other people at the premise there, whether it's remote or because we're all remote working from our homes, right? But are there other people who are either on premise or working remotely who are doing the same work as this employee? That's another question to ask from a, is this a 1099 or is this a W-2? And if there are other folks doing the same or similar work, then probably more so of a W-2 perspective. So those are kind of the two quick questions that I ask as I first get started with regards to
well, and I like the
answer
questions
that.
because it speaks to what a business owner could easily sort of answer off the top of their head. Because we know this, like, you remember for years, I always heard about from my time in the PEO industry when I was a field HR consultant. Don't forget the IRS 20 questions. And I'm like, no one wants to sit with me and go through 20 questions. Like, what are the 2 or 3 things we could talk about to pick one direction or another? So one of the things I'm always curious about with small business owners, who we do try and relate to very much, and to your point, yeah, I understand 1099s, it's easier. I think what small business owners don't understand, aside from the fact that it's blatant payroll tax evasion, it's cheaper, but be careful what you're walking into. But on the flip side, what always worries me is the person that said I'll be a contractor doesn't really know what that means, right? So tell me about, even if both parties agree to it, what are the dangers in the relationship that could eventually cause red flags that gets one or both parties into hot water?
So some of the red flags could be if the employee, if the employee or if the person who should be categorized as an employee is doing work regularly at the facility and that work is directed by the employer, and it's not something where if there is a significant ongoing employment relationship between the two, where it's, not just I need you to be at this time at this place, but there's an ongoing relationship and expectation, that's a red flag. And then also from the finance side, over on the books, right, there are certain things that are included in business taxes and filings. And I think an overuse of 1099s could probably be picked up over on that part of the books as well.
Yeah.
So.
One of the things there's a couple of things that I've just heard pain points from both sides, because you don't know what you don't know.
Right.
And sometimes what you didn't know can become a mess, unfortunately. There are times when it has been discovered that the person that was categorized as a contractor or a 1099, they get to the end of the year, they were heavily income dependent on that entity, and all of a sudden, what they didn't realize is they should have been paying estimated taxes quarterly. So no one's paying, when you're paying a contractor, they're a vendor, no one's paying taxes on that, right? Mm-hmm. So that's why, for businesses who just are trying to sort all this out for the first time, if you're ever wondering why the hourly rate of an employee is far lower than what you'd pay a contractor with a specialized skill, specialized tools, specialized equipment for as needed project work, taxes that you're not paying on payroll, taxes still have to be paid in the form of estimated taxes by the contractor. Right. And if they can't keep up with that, they end up with a tax filing at the end of the year that doesn't look so good. So, and no one, let's face it, no one wants to owe back taxes. It's just, that dark cloud that hangs over your head. But the most fascinating thing that I've seen happen, particularly in Virginia, is Virginia's gotten stricter with this. You don't know what you don't know. You part ways with the contractor. The contractor goes and files for unemployment. And then unemployment says, you weren't on any of these payroll tax quarterly filings. Why not? And believe me when I tell you, these state unemployment agencies would want their state unemployment taxes. So when someone goes and files for unemployment and they think they should be getting it and you can't find that person on a payroll report, you're increasing the risk of now a state unemployment agency wanting to poke around your payroll records. And it might not end up good for you. They might determine at that level it should have been an employee. Not always, but I think I speak for most business owners when we say we really don't want federal and state agencies taking a look under the hood. Because even if we were completely in the right, it's destructive. to the
Yes.
business to be
Absolutely.
audited. So
Absolutely.
yeah, yeah. The other thing that I share is just think of it this way. You hire employees, you sign a service agreement with contractors, which
Yes.
means they're paid as a vendor through accounting. So, but again, back to your point, if you're a startup and you need occasional labor and you're not, you're prepared to have them on the
Right.
bench and off the bench and back on again, it gets mucky. It gets mucky. So I think just understand your risk. All right, the next thing I wanted to chat about we got about 10 minutes left. We can go over if we need to, but let's talk group health. Now, I want to talk to you about group health in terms of what we're hearing from our clients right now about group health. Our experience with, we're putting the handbook together and all of a sudden it comes up, I don't have group health, but I probably should. What do I do? Or, my personal favorite this time of year is, my health renewal is terrible.
Right.
We can't afford this anymore. What do we
Right.
do?
Right. My revenue hasn't gone up 20%. So
Well,
why is
right,
my
yeah. I mean,
why
we're
are my
looking at,
expenses?
I think you're probably hearing from clients what I am. Like, we're looking at, if it's a fully insured plan, and a lot of businesses think that's their only choice when it's not. But fully insured plans with the big carriers, what we're hearing anywhere in the neighborhood of 10 to 30% increases, right?
Right. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. So share a little bit from the boots on the ground. What are you hearing? What are the most common questions? And what advice are we giving that we feel as though, even though we're not benefits brokers, nor will we ever be, I know we have benefit brokers we know, like, and trust that we refer to, and some we share clients with. What are we hearing for people that are navigating these two aspects of group health benefits right now?
Sure. So one of the most common things that I hear, especially from my small business partners who are really just getting started, is they want to provide these types of benefits to their employees. They know how important it is and they know what a challenging environment it is, and they want to be able to provide a reasonably priced option to their employees. Sometimes they've gone out, shopped the market, and said, I don't have a reasonably priced option. And so I
Join the club.
I recognize that frustration on the part of business owners, because they really truly do want to do the right thing. And it is something that can set them apart, especially in some industries, is being able to offer group health benefits. So knowing that, a lot of times what our clients will do is there are other options that are out there. So you mentioned the most common one, which is kind of take your own employees, go out and shop for a self-paid plan. So that is an option, definitely. There are other ways to get to the same result. There are things that are different level, different types of benefit programs that are out there that sometimes require an underwriting element, which is a little bit invasive in terms of the questions that are asked.
Well, yeah, because most people think once the Affordable Care Act was passed, all this underwriting stuff went away.
Right.
I mean, I suppose I should have anticipated that the market would find a way around that.
Right. Yes, and so
Which
we've
is
come
what
back
we've now
to it.
since learned about, the level funded plans
Right.
as an option to pursue, and there is underwriting.
Right. Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so, just to clarify, the ACA developed a new set of plans for which underwriting is not necessary. And now what's happened is, multiple years after that law has come into place, the industry has found a way to not only offer that new plan, but also we've gone back to this level funding, and that is where we go through the underwriting process again. So it is coming sort of back around to requiring underwriting in some instances. The benefit, so again, drawback, kind of invasive, and asking some questions of folks that are likely to use the health insurance benefits at the firm. The benefit is you can get in at a lower price point.
If you've got a healthy employee population.
Yes, depending
Or
upon the
young.
results of that. So that's an option. There's also, I mean, each of us live in a state where there is a health insurance exchange that is available out at the state where your employee is located, right? So we have 50 different state-run health insurance exchanges, and there are now newer programs that are available to employees where they kind of step back and they do not actually offer the insurance through their company, but they can fund an account for which the employee they deposit money into that account, and then the employee can go out to the health exchange
And procure the
at their
coverage.
at their state, get their coverage through that, and then the employee can help or the employer can help offset that amount by setting up this separate tax advantaged account. So
These
those
are the
called
ICRAs, correct?
Yes, those are called
ICRAs.
ICRAs, which
Yeah.
I'm not a huge fan of that acronym, but yeah, that's called an
I don't
ICRA.
know if I'm a huge fan of ICRAs. No offense to the benefits brokers that put them out there. I understand they make sense for certain groups. It's just, in my mind, with small businesses trying to untangle so many complicated things, is the juice worth the squeeze with the layers of complications that come with the ICRA? They're not bad plans. It's not a bad choice, particularly if it's the best path to get people you employ affordable quality health insurance coverage. By all means, do it. I'm just bothered by the unnecessarily layers of complexity, and that's just a personal choice on my part.
Sure.
The other thing that I'll mention as we wrap up, because I think I forwarded this email, we had a fascinating exchange this week with a benefits broker we work with regularly about, can we force people who are Medicare eligible off our group health plan because they are the source of the majority of our claims that are driving our premiums up? And I don't know what your takeaway from that was. I had always assumed that if someone was Medicare eligible but you offered group health, that group health, if they chose to keep participating, became secondary in the coverage. But I guess it's, of course, more complicated than that silly little assumption of mine. Did you have any other takeaways from that, other than it is kind of really being distasteful when you send out a company-wide communication that says if you're 65, you're no longer welcome on our group health insurance plan? I mean, maybe there's an opportunity just for Medicare education in general.
Yes.
What was your takeaway from what we saw from that email earlier this week?
Sure. So certainly becoming more and more likely that this is happening because we're seeing folks stay in the workplace for longer, right? And so that could be a company. This may be a new challenge that a lot of our companies are starting to
Particularly
to
because
navigate.
we're hearing that we might be seeing a push up to 70. I don't know when that would pass, but if there's a push up to 70 as the retirement age, I don't know, does that mean Medicare becomes age 70 now? Like, it's such fluid conditions. It certainly would be hard to guess.
Yeah. I think that really speaks to the importance of having a broker who's keeping on top of these trends and can potentially sort of alert you to if you're having folks that are starting to get to that age and may need to start to make these decisions, to kind of have that conversation a little bit more proactively and not to wait for a potential negative impact to the rates that the company is paying and so on and so forth, to kind of say, here are some options that we have as we start to see more people being eligible for this government-run program. And here's how to incorporate that into your offerings as an employer.
Yeah. So I'll close with this just from my own a little story from my part. There are plenty of brokers in the Richmond market where I am that I like them very much. We network with them. We share clients. I've referred to them. But if you step outside of that and you're the business owner that says, when I look myself in the mirror and say, I'm here to take care of the people that are in my charge, right? Not be in charge, but take care of the people in my charge. That may mean that I'm starting to think about our group health insurance renewal 3 months before our current broker has even given it any thought. And that doesn't make them bad at their job. I just always am pushing myself to be more of the proactive owner that says, have I done everything I can? Have I stayed as ahead of this as I can? And I know it's a lot of work, but making sure you manage your relationships with the people that you trust for ongoing support services of any kind is important. And it's also, you don't always have to put your eggs in one basket either. I had to get over the fact that as fond as I am with our current broker, I'm not really cheating on them if I start asking questions or soliciting information from other brokers. Because I too am sort of bracing for what our own renewal will look like, which meant I received information from a couple other brokers, so I make sure there was everything we needed to know well in advance of what we fear might not be a favorable renewal.
Right.
And it's not even like we have a lot of insureds or that anybody's been unhealthy. This is just what the market conditions are telling us right now. So
Sure.
I think the more you can be proactive and leverage relationships of trust all around you, the more you're setting yourself up for ongoing success with whatever path ahead you are
Yes.
facing. So
Yep. It's with any broker, with any broker or vendor. You
Right.
know, even if you have an established a business relationship with them, it's good to just kind of look around
Sure.
and see what the market has to offer.
it's kind of
just
the
to make
same as
sure.
for those of us that are like, unless you are under the good graces of being insured by USAA, for which not everybody is eligible for all of us that get insured by Erie or Geico or Progressive, every once in a while as consumers, we think, I'm going to get a competing quote to make sure I'm not overpaying for auto and home. It's kind of the same thing with your brokers, with your business as well. I mean, I don't want to pick just on health insurance brokers. I mean, who's to say your commercial lines insurance has the best work comp policy for you? It just doesn't hurt to shop around.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
but align yourself with, my advice would be align yourself with someone who has demonstrated they can be proactive alongside of you, touches base periodically throughout the year so they understand industry shifts or shifts in the dynamics of your employee population. So
Yes.
you aren't blindsided when a renewal comes up and you feel like you're boxed into only one choice.
Yes,
So,
absolutely.
well, it's been lovely spending time with you today. Thank you for joining me on Uncomplicating HR. You don't have to do this again for a while. I'm making my rounds around the entire team. So, but thank you for your intellect and insight. And I wish everybody who chose to watch this a great day.
Yeah.
We'll be back soon for another episode of Uncomplicating HR. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.